Hey, and we're back. Welcome back, everybody, in this last session of this afternoon spotlight session of the Living Systems Collaboratory. We've been just witnessing some fascinating projects, and we're about to go into a last one, which is also food related. If you were paying attention to the previous stream, we're talking to Chris Weir about his recipe constellations and jamming a little bit about food. And I can't say this is not one of my favorite themes. I think cooking is where I'm most at flow. And I hope some of you got slightly hungry also by listening. I can promise you'll get more listening to Maria then, which we are about to receive here. We are spotlighting some of the creators of the Living Systems Collaboratory, which is a side program of the Design Science Studio in collaboration with UC Irvine, and thanks to the generous contribution of Mansour Vakili and also rows of incredible teachers and mentors who have been scaffolding and enlightening these 30 collaborarians that we've been just like giving resources to think in systems and to understand living systems a little deeper and bring this into their work. And yeah, I'm so excited to introduce you to Maria here with us.
All right, thank you so much, Nicholas, and Faith, and yes, and so I'm
gonna quickly. Can I introduce you really quick?
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry.
Jumping ahead. Oh, we're so happy to have you here, Maria. And one of the things I did want to say is Maria and I are of the same kin. We are both. We're both. Have either worked in Alaska or from Alaska. I'm from a small town in Alaska called Homer, and one of the things that brings me such joy is that I found out that Maria used to work at my favorite bakery in Homer, Alaska, and that's one of the small pieces about Maria that I love. But there's so much more here. Maria is an incredible chef. She's a writer, a storyteller, and many other things. She's told stories on the Moth's main stage, among other places. She's an author of 5 books, 2 of which have been optioned for television shows. She's a chef that focuses on regenerative food that improves the areas where it's cultivated, including mushrooms, etc. She's been a chef in residence at the Stochastic Labs for the past 2 years and has collaborated on meals with artists, scientists, tech designers, and many others. She also did an artist in residence at Autodesk Pier 9 for 7 months and curated an edible map of San Francisco Bay Area that's on display in the map room in the San Francisco Exploratorium. She lives on a houseboat with her 2 cats and her dog, and she's really passionate about wild mushrooms and foraging and natural dyes. And there's so much more about Maria that we just don't know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Faith. And thank you guys for all you've done this whole time. It's been such a spectacular way to pass through this odd pandemic time, when it was like about a year ago today, right? When we had our lockdown. And I was at my friend's house, and he has this wildly overgrown backyard, and beautifully overgrown. And he had bought all this, non-perishable food for the lockdown. And I looked at it, I said, if worse comes to worse, you can eat your whole backyard. Like, you have fennel and dandelions and nettles and wild radish, like everything back there is edible. Right. Oh, wait. So I was just thinking about that recently, because I saw all the same vegetables kind of growing along the side of the road. So is my audio? Sorry. So
Your audio is fine.
Great.
Audio is okay. Okay, good. So yeah. So when I was started doing this project. I love this idea of augmented reality storytelling to kind of bring people into this natural world. And I ran away in my early 20s to Alaska. Like Faith said, Homer, Alaska is like the most beautiful place on earth. It's so fabulous. And that's where I learned about wild foods, because you could go and get fiddlehead ferns and salmon and clams. But if you went to the grocery store, it was very expensive and came from far away, but everything around you, and it was fun. It's what we did for fun, like berry picking and then making pies afterwards was super fun. So that's where I learned about it. And one of the great pleasures of living in Northern California is you have wild porcini and chanterelles right there. And I mean, all sorts of herring in the bay. So, being in the Living Systems Collaboratory and listening to sort of all the wonderful speakers, in particular Mansour, who just, I think the most profound thing he said that really brought this all home is like nature, the earth, it's love, like it's unconditional love. And it gives us food, and it gives us beauty, and it gives us all these things. And yet we have created systems that destroys it. And food is a big part of that. And food is a way we can viscerally connect with ecosystems. Food's also a way we can vote with our fork every day. And I very much believe in the democratization of pleasure, that pleasure and beauty is everyone's birthright, and food is a great way to access that. So that's kind of my project, was showing people and integrating philosophy of Buckminster Fuller and Mansour into going and finding wild foods. So I am not a videographer, and I sort of flinch a little bit at some of my transitions aren't great, but I got to learn that while doing this. I took pictures while I was out foraging. And so let's see. So we'll say I'll start with porcini and pleasure. So this is a way that I integrated some of the philosophy with my foraging and with
Trees
cooking.
Are verbs, branching and winding, twisting as if in a current. Roots forking through the earth. Rain is also a verb, falling, soaking, drenching. A confluence of these is the mushroom. Mushrooms grow and store water, moisture condenses. They disperse spores into the atmosphere, seeding rain clouds that cause more rain. The rain triggers more mushrooms that seed more rain. Pleasure also seeds its source. In that way, it's a verb. Every day we choose which verb we want to be.
So that was porcini and pleasure. I'll do herring and the fertile void. Let's see, or I'll do truffles and I'll come back. Let's see. And this is my puppy, Flora Jane, the truffle puppy.
The truffle senses their story. When based on the thousands of elements that went into these humble-looking nuts, of flooding, landslides, volcanic eruptions, animal scat, meteor strikes, and sunlight filtering through leaves, which eventually fall and become part of the soil. The truffle is a pearl of tree and soil, the love child of subterranean systems that releases a waft of what drives life on it. It's the scent of pure desire. Truffles can have 50 to 100 molecules that create their scent. As the spores ripen, the scent increases and rises up. It travels in a column, then comes together, and fans up, so using forest animals to dig her up, to consume her, and spread her spores through the forest animals. She feeds them. They propagate her. Most scent comes from bacteria that is constantly breaking down dead cells. It's a shedding of life, the process of death taking place all the time in every ecosystem, including on our skin. Our skin has the same bacterial content as soil. Our blood has equal portions of saline and other minerals as the ocean. We are pulsing, hungering fractals of planet Earth. Once a truffle leaves the earth, it only has a short window before it becomes a scentless, tasteless lump. It is a living metaphor of desire, heady but fleeting. So where are truffles in our bodies? The desires waiting to be unearthed in us.
And this one was actually shot by a professional videographer, and it's kind of about a catastrophe taking place along the Sonoma and Mendocino coast right now. So it's sea urchins. in our kelp beds.
95% of the kelp forest in Northern California has disappeared in just 7 years. This is due to a convergence of climate change-related events. Virtually the only creature left in this ecosystem is the purple sea urchin, starving, but still able to reproduce. There are now over 240 miles of urchin barrens in Northern California. They're eating everything in their path, including the spores of kelp, destroying hopes of these forests ever returning. Buckminster Fuller wrote, "We are on a spaceship, a beautiful one. It took billions of years to develop. We're not going to get another. Now, how do we make this spaceship work?"
All right. So let's see, how are we doing on time? We have time for one more? This will be the final one, but there's more. You can go to the URL, menu from spaceshipearth.com.
Herring arrive in the San Francisco Bay in late winter to spawn on the eelgrass of the intertidal zone. These silver shoals of protein-rich omega-3 super spawners provide food for the sea lions and seals and pelicans and cormorants and all other creatures of the bay, so that come spring, they will be fat, healthy, and fertile. Herring are pre-spring, part of the fertile void, the edge where minerals from land reach the ocean and plankton from the sea gets sunlight and life is born. The fertile void is a wetlands of loneliness, the noble bog of failure, the dense fog of uncertainty. Yet from here also arises formations of birds and bait balls of fish. It's a space between land and water, the paused heartbeat between exhale and inhale. It's from here that the catalyst of creation starts.
All right. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, so the idea was it would be a menu, and you could be somewhere, and it'd be sort of like a pop-up meal, and then, but because we've been shut down, I made it into a website, and now I've been putting these on YouTube and then linking to recipes that actually kind of taking Chris's advice to tell you, okay, here's sort of a general way to make this, like a general way to find it and a general way to make it. If you don't have cumin, just use whatever you have, the spice rack, or if you don't have preserved lemon, just grate a lemon zest in there. And so again, my idea is that if people go out and even if you just harvest like salt or, miner's lettuce in the spring, you're having a visceral connection. You're entering into the ecosystem. And by entering into the ecosystem in this way, you have to do it on its terms. So that means that you have to look at the tides, and you have to look at weather, and you have to look at, did it rain? How long ago? Did you have a cold snap? Well, that's what mushrooms like. They like rain, sun, cold snaps. Seaweed has a season. In California, it's going to be May, June, July. You want to look at a very low tide. So all of this makes you, or herring, herring are in the bay because the birds are just going crazy and the sea lions are roaring and you're like, the herring are here. So it makes you live by nature's laws. And perhaps if we can do that, we can stop trying to force our laws onto nature, which has not worked. It's not working at all. In fact, we're destroying ourselves by trying to do that, our kind of consumptive, extractive systems that we have now. And so I feel like, with food, we can use beauty and pleasure and fun and outdoor activity and kind of using what you have and winging it and building fires and cooking over them with friends in a way that it's for everybody. Everybody can do this. You just have to get a tide book and pay attention to it. So that is my presentation. And if you want to read my Wild Food Manifesto, that was also very deeply influenced by the Living Systems Collaboratory, you can read that. You can sign up for my newsletter because I am doing wild food camps. I taught people how to hunt for porcini and chanterelles and cook them. And then the spring is going to be seaweed. And then I'm doing a wild food seaweed camp in Homer, Alaska this summer, which I am just so excited about, out on Hesketh Island. So yeah. see. Make sure.
That's incredible, Maria. I'm really excited to hear about your courses, first in Homer and second around here. So much there. I'm curious as to, you are always out foraging. You're about to go foraging right now.
Right. Yes.
What are some of the most unique things that you found foraging?
Oh, most unique things. Well, the funkiest are probably gooseneck barnacles. Have you ever seen a gooseneck barnacle? They look kind of like a dinosaur fingernail, and I ate them in Seattle. There's some indigenous fishermen, collected them, and they're pretty good. They're like steamed in butter. Um, and I see them, and I look at them, and I'm like, no, maybe, maybe. Um, and but I trained my dog to hunt truffles, and so last weekend we were on the north side of Mount Tam, and we found 4 truffles. They were not the Oregon white truffles I was looking for, but those were pretty exotic. So we are actually going to an area with Douglas firs that is a second growth that's been logged. Because the crazy thing about mushrooms, the great thing, truffles as well, they actually like human activity. Like they like a little disturbance. And so I feel like this is another great entry into sort of regenerative systems, because when you're picking them, mushrooms above ground, they're like fruit on a tree. You can't really over harvest them, so you don't leave a porcini. But what you can do is put them in a loose sack so that you can spread spores as you're walking out, or you clean them right there. So you're spreading, you're kind of spreading them around a little bit.
Beautiful.
You're touching my little Spanish heart. With the gooseneck barnacles, it's dear to my heart.
Oh yeah, I've been to a Spanish fisherman's market, and yeah, you guys have a much more complex and evolved palate for seafood than we do. We're like, America has a horrible, like big fillets of fish, of salmon that look like steak, and then like shrimp and tuna. That's it. Like, yeah, I like uni. Everybody should be eating as much uni as they possibly can these days. Like, just
Agreed.
You can't eat too much uni right now. Like, we got to get those purple sea urchins out of the ocean.
That's fascinating. What a pleasure just to talk food. Food is, I feel, is the big unifier. If there was just one thing that we could choose to unite humanity, it's food. That's something that we do 3 times a day. We love to do together. It connects us directly to the earth every single day. You're touching the earth. You're connecting with nature,
and I feel like it's sort of in our system of economics is like, you don't have to be rich to eat good food. You maybe have to grow a tomato plant and a basil plant in your backyard, but like it is, everybody can experience pleasure on a daily basis through food. It really, and everybody has that right. Like, that's the other thing. I think, we had Lynn Twist come and talk a couple times to the studio that there's enough food. We've created systems that, and I feel like through being in this process with Design Science Studio and Living Systems, I've seen very clearly, because I've bought into those systems, we are taught that these systems that are killing ourselves are necessary, and they are not. We have to use these synthetic fertilizers to grow enough food. Well, that's you're killing the soil. That doesn't make any sense. You're killing biodiversity. We have to have paper for, to write on, and we have to cut down trees for toilet paper. Well, actually we don't. There's probably another way to do this. So that's, I don't want to segue right back into food after that, but I think with food, we've had a certain system for a while, and it is like, and then we're taught, well, this system is elitist, eating, good non-processed food. It means you have time, or it means you have money. And I would argue, no, it means you just want to, it means that you value that.
There's a huge movement now, and it's something that has happened in history before, especially in the US. It's a huge movement now trying to convert front yards into gardens, because like what a fucking waste of like land put in just grass that is consuming a ton of water and doing nothing for us. And like, what if not only if we turn that into gardens would be providing food to entire communities, but also like it's a place to get together with your neighbors and exchange your fruits for my tomatoes, and like
it's pleasurable. Or one fruit tree, one fruit tree has way more fruit than one family can eat, and
100%.
Yeah, and so it's just like, and so why don't we, like, when we look at putting in trees, why don't I put in an apple tree in my front yard or a lemon tree in my front yard?
Like the outrageous thing is like, why isn't government just giving away seeds and like and it's surplus. It was done during World War II, for example, when there was
the victory gardens.
It's like it would be so simple, such a radical way of like changing things with so little. It's a trim tap. That's
and that's exactly, and that's my grandparents were very not wealthy. My grandfather had 9 kids. He was a mechanic. They lived on 2 acres, and they grew all their food, and they both grown up on farms during the Depression. And, and so, but then my mom's generation, my mom hated gardening. She was a career woman, she was like, we had cream of mushroom soup was in everything. It was like the binder and everything. But so it's sort of like, we're kind of moving back, and it's like, having a victory garden. And even if you just have a lemon tree and some herb pots, right? You can make everything better with just those 2 ingredients. Like you were saying earlier, I wanted to throw in miso. That's been this year. I've been putting miso in everything, and I'm just blown away. It's so good.
Yeah, I was saying in Chris's talk, I said that I recommended Roxy. if you get good vinegar, good salt, good like
oil,
oil, and you can make anything. But I would add miso to that equation. You can make any recipe delicious out of miso.
And nobody knows what it is. It's fabulous. So fish sauce, that's also another little secret ingredient. But so I believe that food has, and storytelling and community and nature, it's all right there. And kids, that's the other part, kids love it. Like when my nieces and nephews, they love growing something or picking fruit off a tree. And if they do that, they'll eat it, So I think that, and this was about foraging, but I'm also very pro gardening. Like but foraging to me, it's funny. We're going truffle hunting up in, like I mentioned, in Humboldt, and I talked to a guy whose family has a truffle orchard in Italy, and he said, "Well, you want to get yourself a pH tester, and you want to get the right pH for truffle, so that because when you're in a Douglas fir forest, you only have a couple hours with your dog's nose wears out, right? And so, so you want to go in the right area as much as possible." And then I was talking to another mushroom hunter in Oregon. He said, "Just look for the right plants." He said, you're going to want to look for plants that hate acid. So if you see rhododendron, they like acid. Stay away from any of those areas. So there's a couple different ways of looking at it, of going into it. But I just kind of love the wisdom of wild food. I have to say there is something about that and it just feels wonderful to be like, okay, I'm on the North Slope. There's no Oregon grape. I think we're in truffle country.
When you were sharing about just like grabbing fruits and foraging, and I recently remember a story that really impacted me as a child. I used to live in a place where like there was a lot of plantations and like trees, fruit trees, whatever, and my father and I used to go with our bikes and just like bike away in the middle of the fields, and we would often just stop by and like sneak into one of the fields and like start grabbing some of the fruits that were like right there from the tree. And one day we got caught by the owner of the land, and we were kind of like very scared and like sorry, apologize. And he came to us and shared something. It's like, do not worry, there is a law in the land, and an unwritten law that says that you can grab any fruit you want, just don't take it home. Like, we're here, there, anything that you can eat under the tree, just feel free. Nobody will ever kick you out for eating the fruit. Just don't take it home.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
No, that's perfect. That is great. Eat all you want here. Yeah.
Maria, we're at time right now, but I would love for you to tell people how they can find out more about your courses and integrate more.
Oh, yes.
And
So, yeah. So if my website that was a pandemic, it's like Menu from Spaceship Earth was a URL that was just up there. And then I also have a flora and fungi website. So all of these I'm kind of linking up. And then my writing website is mariafinn.com. So any of those, you can sign up for a newsletter. It will be the same newsletter, and it will only come out probably once a month when there's like a new event, because I'm hoping to be collaborating with Ada, who is a resident as well. And she may be coming to California in July, and we want to do like a immersive sound dinner in the Redwoods. And so that would be something. And then if
Can I
Morels,
be your sous chef? I wanna be
yes, you can totally be the sous chef. Well, I want king salmon in the Redwoods on wood fire. That's the, but and then hopefully morels, if we can find them and it's safe to access, we'll do a morel pop up, sort of forage. And then I have 2 seaweed classes, and then the wonderful Homer Alaska one. So all of these, flora and fungi, or Menu from Spaceship Earth, or mariafinn.com. And please, yeah, please come and have fun, because it's really beautiful out right now.
I can't wait to taste more of your food. I got to taste some of your food at the Dow House about a year ago at the Center for Humane Technology event, and it was just incredible. There's so much.
So many cool dinners have happened at that house.
Yeah,
I know. That place is amazing. I know, and you totally made that also awesome. So thank you, Faith, and thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, everybody, Roxy and John and Mansoor and everybody who put this together. You guys, this so much heart and just wisdom, and it was so great. So thank you for ushering us through this difficult time with so much hope.
Yeah, thank you for being part of the studio and your collaboration as well. I think there's so many ways to touch nature through food, and that's definitely what you've been showing us. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody. We're gonna close here. Thank you for attending all the sessions today. We have more coming up tomorrow. We still have 2 full days of programming on Regeneration Rising, this festival of the Design Science Studio, featuring the work of 144 of our artists. And just tap in to the rest of the content. There's some mind-blowing sessions. There's a lot of music coming up. Yeah.
Yep. Please join us for the planetary session that starts now, actually.
Now.
It's a great transition time.
You can access, if you don't have tickets yet for like whatever reason, regenera.art will lead you to the link to buy the tickets, and then get it there and get the schedule. Regenera.art, and please join. We have created 4 virtual worlds and an entire story universe, and there's a lot of fun still. And we're gonna have also some really, really dope music tonight, so come join. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tap back again. Thank you for joining.
Thank you again. See you soon.